Just in the last 2 years, the average cost of an Indian wedding has gone from 25 lakhs to 36 lakhs. Why? Why are Indian weddings getting so expensive? So let's understand the scale of weddings happening throughout the country. There are 1 crore weddings happening every year in India. 1 crore. And most of them happen in November and December, and people will spend up to 20% of their lifetime earning on this one event. And we also know that a shadi costs on average 28 lakh rupees. But we also know that the average household income in India, less than 5% actually earn 30 lakh rupees. Which means if you put everyone's income together, a household less than 5% of the country earns this amount. But they're spending so much every year. Clearly, they're spending for a different reason, and that's status. A lot of people can't afford these weddings, but they try to go out of their way to actually show how highly they can be placed in society. So the drive over here is very interesting. It's status and money and how they're feeding off of each other to actually make things really expensive in the wedding state. But you know, it wasn't always the case. In the 1960s, something really interesting happened. The government introduced the guest control order, which meant that you can't have more than 25 people at a wedding. No, I'm serious. You can't have more than 25 people at a single wedding because the situation in the country was grim. There was a war happening on one side, and India's inflation had skyrocketed to 18%. So to actually reduce consumption, and because the Indian government knew that weddings are a place where Indians splurge, they reduced and restricted the guest list to be only 25 people. But how did we go from a 25-person event to weddings so grand, so lavish that it's so expensive, you don't want to know the price tag? Something happened in 1991 which fundamentally changed Indian society forever. India got liberalized, which means it opened itself to the world. Foreign companies entered and we had a giant race to the top. The race was who can spend more. Household spending went through the roof, went up 10 times in the last 30 years at that point, and people started to buy stuff. Now I want you to think, when people want to buy stuff outside of roti, kapda, makan, what would they buy? So one thing's clear. Income in India was going up. And if you look at this chart here, you can see that lower income groups were moving to middle income groups, and the middle income groups were moving to upper middle income groups. Now, think about it from a population level, that the number of middle income people has increased exponentially. In fact, the population went from around 800 million to 1.44 billion. So what do you think will fundamentally change in society? Status. How do you show everyone around you that you have moved from here to here? When the car, the house, the jewelry isn't enough, you look towards weddings. That's why weddings became this grand spectacle to show wealth, power, prosperity, and whatnot. And the market is really big because more than 65% of our country has a really young population, which means more people will get married every year around the same months, which means a lot of candidates want to get married. So the demand side of this equation is really, really high. And like we've already seen, the cultural pressure is this. I have to show that I've made it. So parents will spend big on a wedding. But something is still unsolved. In 2022, the average wedding cost 25 lakhs. Alright, but in 2024, it's about 36 lakhs. Why did the prices go up so much in just 2 years? There must be something else, right? It can't be the GDP and household income. There must be something that we're completely missing. And you can see right from banquet hall to all the food, the prices and demand is still going up. In fact, these vendors claim that when they know there is a wedding, they will charge a wedding markup. For example, if you want a tent for a non-wedding occasion, the price is this. But a tent for a wedding occasion will cost you this. They will always charge more for the same exact product or service, but if it's in a wedding. But think about it, when you spend on a wedding, it has a multiplication effect on the actual economy. Like the vendor that you hire will spend on raw materials. The jeweler that you hire to make the jewelry will hire labor, will buy raw materials. The people who earn from those vendors will then again spend in the economy, creating a multiplier effect. Which means you're not just spending on a single event, you're also increasing the economy's size. From 2022 to 2024, why did the expenditure in weddings go up so much? The answer is with your neighbor. Actually, it's with SOC, show-off culture. For your parents, it was the big parda in those movies, and for you, it's on Instagram. These movies your parents watched and you probably also enjoyed told you that family life, family values, love and togetherness so close to Indian culture is closely related to celebration and dancing and grand weddings where everyone is having a gala time, and this is what success actually means as a family. Which is really Indian and maybe why Indians are brainwashed to actually spend so much on weddings even if they can't afford it. Think about it, the last time you went for a wedding, there was a Sangeet jahan pe there was a Bollywood dance. Where did that influence come from? It came from movies. But us as kids or our parents used to watch a movie once a month and it was such a glorious time. But now all I need to do is take my phone out, unlock it and hit the magic button, Instagram. And there's a mini 1-minute movie playing all the time and I can just flip through it. This means the effect of media on our brains isn't happening once a month, but once every time we're bored, which happens a lot during the day. So I'm always watching reels and then 1 ghanta nikal gaya, and then 2 ghanta nikal gaya, and then 3 ghanta nikal.
10 hours later.
For example, Anushka Sharma got married and spent about 6 to 7 lakh rupees on this lehenga. But the same lehenga is available in Delhi's Chandni Chowk for about 80,000 to 1 lakh, the first copy. And this brings us to an actual trend across the country where you can buy first or second copies of famous influencers or actors and actresses and use it at your special day. Now, the cost of the lehenga isn't determined by the quality, wearability, or the beauty of the lehenga itself. It's determined by the aspiration that you too want to have a fairy tale wedding just like your favorite actor, Anushka Sharma. And this trend is happening in markets across the country, not only in clothes, but even hairstyle, beauty makeup, the food you want, the decoration, you name it. Instagram is telling you what kind of wedding you should have to keep you happy. Now, the gap is between what you want and what you can actually afford. And what you can actually afford is something that does not make you happy. What you can't afford, what you see on the internet, is what should make you happy. And this gap is filled by a new magic. And this magic is called credit. The India Lens wedding report talks about how 26% of couples want to self-fund their own weddings. Of that, 68% plan to borrow between 1 and 5 lakh rupees. Now, because you're taking a loan which is not asset-backed, it's for an event, the interest is between 9.99% all the way to 24%. Now, this is bad because you're not creating an asset and you're still paying interest. Now, let's say you take a 5 lakh rupee loan at 15% a year, you will end up paying 7 lakh rupees including the interest. In fact, post-COVID, the home loan growth rate has actually decreased and the personal loan growth rate has increased, which means people are actually taking loans for stuff that doesn't build assets. They build stuff for conspicuous consumption, which is the worst kind of consumption because it's not building anything apart from maybe reputation, status, and to be honest, some really nice memories. But you gotta build assets too, right? Now, we can do all the analysis in the world, but the truth is that a wedding is an emotional decision. And there is only one way you can actually bring the cost down by actually watching this video.